we spent the past couple of years in a crazy hot market. Louisville home sales decline as demand outpaces supply. Effective communication is at the core of any situation. If you master these two ideas, you'll have a chance of being successful at residential real estate marketing. I think you need to be looking for investment opportunities that move the needle. The market will never crash if demand exceeds supply. This is what I've been telling you all along.
This is the Jay Pitts Show. And we're back, folks. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show. I'm your host, Jay Pitts, here with Ryan Harris.
Just had a grilled cheese.
Yeah, ready to go to sleep?
So the office has a couple annual events every year they've been doing, I would say.
Since the beginning.
Maybe started since, maybe before even I was here.
Yeah.
You just asked me in a previous video how long I've been a real estate agent, and I've been here the whole time, and it's closer to 7 years than 6 years.
That's wild, right?
Which is crazy. So there's the grilled cheese event.
Cheese fest.
So did this replace where staff used to make grilled cheeses?
Yeah. So we used to have, we'd go buy a ton of ingredients, and we would bring in all these hot plates, and people would come up with their own. I feel like every staff person would come up with their own concoction, and we would buy the materials for that, and they would each staff a station and just literally make the grilled cheese here
For an hour and a half.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah. They would just but then it just got to be too much. We were literally, we have a 10,000 square foot building here, and we're throwing breakers. We had so many we had hot plates in every corner of the office. It was weird. Just because it got so big.
Yeah, no vents.
Yeah, no hood, no ventilation. We just winging it. But it was great, and it was awesome. We really, I think, enjoyed it. And the staff really did, honestly, I think, enjoyed doing it, because they would kind of compete and who could come up with the best idea. Memory serves, blueberry goat cheese was the best.
Yeah.
The best. And there were prosciutto and tomato, and anyway, it was all great, and mozzarella. It was all great stuff. More traditional ones, obviously, but yeah, that was cool. And then we decided we actually have, so Little Cheesers is the food truck that we brought in today.
It started at last year, getting Little Cheesers.
We started having Little Cheesers come back, but Little Cheesers we worked with a number of times. They were actually at our grand opening. When we first opened the office, we had a food truck come, and it was Little Cheesers. So we had them come during COVID, when we were doing outside meetings. And anyway, it's one of those events. One of the others is we do a chili and soup cook-off every year. That's really cool. That is, staff and agents do entries, and then we have a winner. We have a golden spoon. So we have a soup and a chili that wins every year. And it was originally a chili cook-off, and then somebody brought soup, and everybody wanted to vote for the soup. So then we because it was actually the best.
Chili to me is soup.
Chili is a soup. So this is goes to is a hot dog a sandwich?
I think chili being a soup is more clear than a hot dog being a sandwich.
Okay. I don't think a chili is a soup, and I don't think a hot dog is a sandwich.
Let me ask you this. Is chili under the soup title on menus? Yes. I'll answer that for you.
See, I don't really order things like that at restaurants typically, so I don't know that I would know.
Well, it is.
It is.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe they just didn't want another section.
They just didn't want a chili section with one item on it.
Yeah.
I will say chicken sandwiches go under burgers too, and that's not a thing. Chicken sandwich is not a burger.
Is white chicken chili more of a soup or a chili?
To me, it depends on the consistency. Chili to me is thick. It kind of resists the urge to take the shape of the vessel. You follow me? If you took a spoonful of chili and you dropped it on a table, it would stay a clump for a minute.
If you put it in the fridge and tried to pour it out the next day, it won't
pour out.
Yeah.
It will just blob. A soup is mostly predominantly liquid.
Is it is it Dairy Queen or Culver's that they turn it upside down?
Oh, it is Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen.
The Blizzard. They always do to show you, which is so funny to me. Every time they do it, it catches me off guard.
I hadn't had Dairy Queen in forever, and then coming back from Meade County last week. I have some listings out there.
And
There's
you were like,
only one thing back on the
I
way.
want a Blizzard.
And it was lunchtime. I didn't even get a Blizzard. But it's the first time I had Dairy Queen in forever.
is it the one like on South Dixie, like way out there outside the Snyder? That's funny. I know exactly which one you're talking about because I've been there. Like as a real estate agent, you get caught in this like place where you're like running and gunning and you don't stop to eat, and then you find yourself at like 2 p.m. in this like far-flung place, an hour from any food, and you see one spot and you're like, all right, I guess that's what I'm doing.
It was either that or the Thorntons a few miles up the road.
yeah, exactly. And then like who knows? I mean, you're getting like a bag of chips and like a Gatorade maybe.
Hey, I'll eat Thornton food.
You'll eat Thornton
They
food?
have hot food that's pretty good.
I will tell you, the Thornton's breakfast burrito's not bad. But like it's a pretty rare occasion. But I didn't think it was that terrible.
No, there's no
Gas
way.
station hot dogs.
You definitely got your sodium for probably the week eating it, but
this is a hilarious, like this is actually a real estate conversation.
yeah,
The eating in weird places is uniquely real estate.
yeah.
Like what other profession do you find yourself in some weird far flung like place that you don't ever expect to be necessarily at a weird time and you didn't have time to eat? Like it just doesn't happen.
And half your showings for the day aren't even planned before they get started.
Sometimes they're not, for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Or you got a deal in process and you get a call and you got to go do this or do that. Or
if I was really good, should just bring almonds and bananas with me or something.
yeah, I feel like bananas. I've left bananas even not even in the summer, like in a mild temperature time of the year, like right now. I leave a banana in the front seat of my car and like think it's going to be okay, and it's like brown in like an hour.
That's my favorite kind of banana.
Oh, I'm not there.
The browner, the better.
For me, I actually eat them almost green.
Ugh.
Yeah,
I like them.
to each his own, brother.
They're sweeter.
You need to make banana, but they've lost all the nutrients by that point.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, the more ripe something gets, overripe, I
didn't know that.
It's the process of the fruit or vegetable losing its
Maybe you can join
value.
Robert Kennedy.
Maybe I can. Maybe I can.
All right, man. You want to hop into it?
Yeah, let's do it, man. What you got for us today?
We'll start with the listener question. And this person said, how do you decide where to spend your time in the winter if your business slows down?
How do you decide where to spend your time in the winter if your business slows down? Okay, I'm going to tell you it's almost no different in terms of approach than any other time of the year. I think number one, it depends on where you're at in your business. But let's say you're established. You're very, very well established, and you have a reasonable expectation that business will pick up in the spring. Then I would say then you should have a high level of focus on like rest and recharge because it's hectic. We spend, larger than average number of hours in the spring and summer. And so getting some balance back is important. It's also a time of year with a lot of holidays and a lot of opportunities to, spend your time with family, and trying to get back some of maybe what you might have lost a little earlier in the year when you weren't as available, I think is really important. If you're in a spot, and even those established people need to spend some time doing this as well, it's a great time for prospecting. Okay. It's a great time for prospecting, but maybe not for the reason you'd think. I think most people would say, okay, yeah, I have time available so I can prospect. And that is true. But the reason it's good for prospecting is there's not a lot of expectation of the prospect. So, and if you're established, you're calling on your sphere of influence, you're calling on past clients. There's a lot of opportunities to invest in them. You can, make, small gestures that go a long way. We're doing a somewhat of a larger gesture, but really not as hard to pull together as you might think. And we've got a Santa meet and greet here at the office. We're inviting all past clients. Anybody in the brokerage can bring a past client, or even just a contact. And we're giving out photos with Santa and things like that. Like that's a way to give back. You can do it in much smaller ways. You can drop off pumpkins, you can drop off candy bags for Halloween. You can drop off or do a pie pickup or drop off pies or baked goods, around Thanksgiving. We've done ornaments for Christmas, things like that. Like just showing up for your clients is inherently prospecting. But again, there's no expectation. When you call to check in on somebody at a time where they're not looking to buy or sell, the conversation can focus on investing in the relationship and not express an expectation of any sort of result to come from it. And that's, like, in my opinion, the best time. Like, if you can call with no expectation, you're showing up, you're adding value, you're investing in the relationship, and they don't have to do anything. So I think that's a really good time to prospect. I think business planning is a big part of what should be done in the fall and spring, or fall and winter, when business slows down. Like, there is no, replacement for a plan. I've quoted on this podcast and to our agents a ton, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. A plan executed with continuous action is one of the requirements to achieve anything worth having, right? So business planning, prospecting, rest and recharge, those are the things I'm going to prioritize.
So I saw the screenshot the other day. I thought it was really good. It says, a goal without a deadline is a fantasy.
Yeah.
Goal with a deadline is an objective. Goal with a deadline and a plan is intention. Goal with a deadline, a plan, consistent action is success. Personal, meaningful goal, deadline, plan, and consistent action equals fulfillment.
That's taking, like, something that I think we've all heard. What is it? A goal without a deadline is a dream, or as a wish.
Yeah.
And but that I like the specificity. I mean, it's taking it to five or six levels beyond. Yeah. And I think I'd want to sit with that a little bit and actually read through it. But I the way you just said it, I think I agree. Fulfillment, especially, because it's easy. I'll get a little deep here. The biggest challenge that a lot of successful realtors face is success itself, right? It's really hard to find fulfillment from success in this business. That is what's so maddening, right? You can have a ton of success and be miserable in this business and not have any fulfillment. I've put myself in that position before. I know a ton of other agents that have as well. And it's like, why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. Why am I doing this? But it's also this situation where most of us become fearful of losing what we've worked so hard for. It's like this, sunk cost fallacy. It's like, I can't make changes because this is the way this is what I've invested in. I've gotten what I've achieved what I set out to achieve. It's just not what you expect when you get there. And so having to face down the prospect of having invested so much for an outcome, getting the outcome and then no longer wanting it, holy shit. Like, that is an eye opener. And mm-hmm. You're like, okay, wait, so now I got to put forth even more effort to figure out how to make this work for me now that I've got it. Like, that's a crazy prospect. It's one thing that I think your environment, it's something in real estate that I think underscores how important your environment is. Because if you can witness someone else do that before you do it, and you can make your changes along the way and not succumb to the same mistakes, it puts you in it saves you so much grief. I didn't have that. I wear the hardship like a badge of honor, but I have my dad, right? But for the largest part, I mean, he's an hour away and not in my day to day. And my dad was also the kind of individual that would suffer. He'd just make himself suffer endlessly and never complain, never, it was the point. The suffering was the point. Like, him proving to himself that he could suffer more than everybody else. And that's just not the life I want to live. Like, I want to live a great life, not, I'm the toughest SOB because I can suffer more than you. I want to be great. And so I got myself, I did what I thought I should do, and I got myself into a really bad spot, and then I had to figure out how to get out. And it's why I've been so open and transparent with our agents, especially the ones that have had a lot of success, because I'm like, hey, you don't want to be where I was. I see people here in the office like Scott Radcliffe or Tracy French or Matt Hoagland that have these big businesses, right, that they built, and they're moving in this direction. Bobby Pinkston's another one, and he made a change recently. Like, you don't want to find yourself in a bad way, having gotten exactly what you bargained for. That's a weird spot.
I think you got to listen to your instincts too, because I feel like you definitely notice the way you're going is not the way you really want to be, even though you're making a lot of money and have a lot of success. And I think some people just keeps pushing through it and like, oh, this will change. I won't feel this way always. But then it gets worse and worse and worse. And then you have to change something or...
You know when it changed for me? It changed for me. There's a couple of moments, right? But it was like, I would always find myself in the same place. It was worse right after Preston was born, right? That was when it was the worst. And that was when I realized that a change needed to be made. Of course, there's no script. You got to figure out what the change is. So I made some changes, and the changes momentarily alleviated some of the problem, but then more success happened, and I found myself in the same spot. Maybe not quite as bad because I understood at that time. And then I made some more changes, and it alleviated momentarily, and then I find back. You're just bigger each time you come back to it. When I really made the shift and my life got a lot better was in 2019. It was right after Dad got sick in December of 18. And I swear he got sick the first time on December 4th of 2018. He had an aortic dissection, which is essentially your descending aorta carries 80% of the blood flow in your entire body, right? Out of the heart to everything else. It split, right? I mean, he should have bled out, but he miraculously, it fused itself. He had a blood clot. They went to emergency bypass surgery. They saved him, but he was in the hospital for 3 months after that. And, that'll rock your world, right? When your hero, your mentor, all these, is going through this stuff. And so I was at a place then closing out 18 where I was like crushing sales. I'd built a sizable team, but I was crushing sales because expenses were really high and I needed it to be able to keep I said to keep the lights on, but to be able to continue to flourish and continue to provide opportunity and to justify the expense of it all, I had to do it. Like, I think I went on like 150 listing appointments that year, something crazy.
That's crazy.
I took a ton of listings, but probably more sales, more traditional sales, if you take away the REO early in the career, like probably had more traditional sales in 2018 than any other year. And so I was spread pretty thin, right? And now all of a sudden I'm spending hours a day at a hospital, trying to relieve my mom, trying to take care of her, trying to be there for Dad and all those things. And I remember we had to postpone our team retreat because it was supposed to be in December. This is how the team retreat started being in January, because it was supposed to be in December and Dad was in the hospital and I was not in the headspace to do it. And so we pushed it out into January. And by the time I got there and did it, I had pretty much decided, and I had been thinking that I needed to get myself way into a position where I was doing way less of the sales, way less of the listing side of the team's business. And, I'm coming off the biggest year I'd ever done personally. So that was like a tall ordeal. And I remember setting the goal. You know how we set our goals and our intentions at the.
I remember this.
Yeah. So I made the goal of not to do more than 15 transactions personally in an entire year. And it was unthinkable to me at that point that it would be that little. And because when you're doing 75 transactions a year personally, it's like 15, like what? And so, that's when it really changed, because I made the commitment to stop accepting all the excuses that were in my own head about why it couldn't be done that way, right? And I relied upon really good people, to pick up the slack. And it was better for them and it was better for me. And I just knew that if I did that, then I'm taking a smaller piece of the pie. I had to be resolved in knowing that decision would grow the pie. And it did. And it did in 19. It did even more in 20. 21, we blew the roof off of it in 21. 22 is the same way, and it's been that way ever since. And like I've gotten to live a life for 5 years where I'm there for everything my kids do. I'm there for anything my wife needs me for, right? I've gotten to help, leaders grow into that. I've gotten to help other people learn and move on and flourish, stay with the company. And so it's kind of crazy, man, when I look back on it. The team hasn't suffered. Like dozens at this point of people have left the team to go independent and have had great success, and the team is still where it always has been. It's not taken a dip at all.
Sounds like it probably couldn't have happened at a better time for you too, because at that time your kids weren't doing like sports.
Not as much.
You didn't have a bunch to go to, but now you have everything to go to, and you were able to start this 5 years ago, and now you're in a really good spot, and you can go coach and do all these things.
The timing feels divine. Like Dad got sick. Like that was a stroke of, luck that we didn't want. And it's just like, luck's not the right word, but like coincidence, I guess you could say. It just happened. It happened, and then like I don't know. I learned a lot from it. I like to think about the course of events and why and how things came to pass. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, my dad always tells me, and growing up and still tells me, everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to.
That's right.
And like, as long as you're just not a complete idiot about something, and like
so true.
You just don't ignore things completely, like everything's going to turn out okay or how it's supposed to. Like,
I say that to Preston every once in a while. Just don't be an idiot. Yeah, like, you'll be fine. Just don't be an idiot. He's like, all right.
Apply to a lot of things in life.
Cool. Sorry, I know they got a little heavier.
No,
than you
that's
mentioned.
good.
But it is wild to think the course of events that led me to how I do things now. And again, you're right. I was neurotic and insecure about, like everyone is. Like I feel like we talked about anxiety a couple weeks ago, and I think Hannah even clipped this for the socials. Like this is an anxiety riddled profession. Everyone experiences it. Every single person. And whether you're prone to it or not in your personal life, you're gonna feel it as a real estate agent. And that's how all of us are about our business. We work so hard, and we face a ton of adversity, and we have tons of competition, and we're literally like completely insecure at one moment or another about whether the business will show up or not. And eventually you work yourself into this more confident place where you feel like you can trust that it's going to show up for you. And it always does, right? If you do the right things. And that was the moment where I was so insecure about the decision I was making. I knew it was the right move deep down in my gut. Do less and open yourself up to more.
Yep.
And allow people in, and allow good people, right? Good character individuals, good talented individuals to spread their wings and do more underneath you, and it will grow everything. And it's just like the return on investment is greater than I could have ever imagined. And it took a ton of discomfort at the time to arrive at that decision.
Yeah. We were talking about it's important to listen to your intuitions or the clues that maybe you're not going in a really good direction, even if your business is. But I think the tricky part about that in this business or any other successful person is those that are super, super successful, like I'd say majority had to ignore those intuitions or clues in the beginning to get to where they are.
Yeah.
And you have to listen to them later. I would say very few people are able to recognize it early and then still become uber successful. But once again, you have to figure out what success is to you. Maybe it's making $1 million a year. Maybe it's making $100,000 a year. Maybe it's $400,000. But making the most amount of money possible. If you feel like you're going in a bad way, might not be a success for you. Like,
Yeah.
you got to figure it out.
You know, I think of it in terms of sacrifice sometimes, Ryan. Most success requires some level of sacrifice at some
Absolutely.
point. Here's the thing, though. There is no preset amount of sacrifice for everyone to be successful. It's different for every person. You know, I am very fortunate to be born in a family that provided me with some opportunity. Now, it wasn't easy for them to provide me certain opportunities, but they made sacrifice so that I could, and I sacrificed as well. It may require more of others. You know, some people don't have the support I had. Most of the support I received wasn't monetary, at least the value of it. The value of the non-monetary support way outpaced any monetary support I received in my life from my folks. You know, really it was just instilling the courage to be able to make the right choices. You know, I feel more blessed for that than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I didn't miss meals either. You know what I mean? I wasn't starving. I had clothes to wear and a roof over my head. You know, so you know, to some people that's something they don't have.
Yeah.
And so I acknowledge that as well.
Yep.
All
right. So we just we're talking a lot about success and how that can mean something different for everybody else. I think it's a good transition into an Alex Hormozy. Is that how you say it? Hormozy?
Hormozy, I think.
Hormozy.
Yeah.
Took the screenshot from him.
Okay.
I think it could be very useful for a lot of real estate agents out there. Maybe you don't need to go to the extent he says in this, but he said if your business isn't making $100,000 a month, here's what you need to do. Grab a kitchen timer, set it to 4 hours, and advertise until the timer is up. You can do warm outbound, cold outbound, content, or paid ads. Don't do all of them. Just pick one until you get to $100,000 a month. I would start with warm outbound or content because they're the cheapest to get started, aka free. When the 4-hour timer is up and the day is done, do it again tomorrow, repeat, just win.
So
It's basically just time blocking for
prospect 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, man. There's often the most valuable solutions are the most simple. Just be proactive, man. What generates business? Get out there and talk to people. Get out there and, run ads, talk to people, network, whatever. It doesn't matter. One to one, one to few, one to many. Doesn't matter. Do all three.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if somebody can impact your business greatly, do one-to-one. If a small group can impact your business significantly, spend a lot of time on that small group. If you're just trying to capture, a sale from a large do all three. It's not, marketing, networking, and prospecting. Those three things is what generates revenue.
I really do think time blocking is such an important thing because if you don't do it, like your phone's going to distract you. And if you're doing advertisement or content on your phone, turn notifications off. Like, it doesn't have to be 4 hours, but do an hour, do 2 hours, and just like solely focus on this thing. I wish I would have done that a little more with Simba, the tech startup I was part of, I guess, over a year ago now. I would probably do 4 hours a day, but it would be sprinkled in between all these meetings we had, whether it was with investors or other clients. And sometimes you have to do that because you're such a small team, but I really wish I would have time blocked content a little more.
Yeah.
I think you get a lot more done.
I think there is something to bringing intense focus to a specific task rather than dividing your attention across many tasks. In terms of efficiency, I do my best work when I can conjure an environment like that. You know
My best work early in the morning.
Yep, when it's quiet.
Or
caffeine
late
induced.
at night.
I don't do late at night.
And it's only late at night if I have to.
Well, that too.
Maybe I have like 4 listings going up the next day, and I know I have a busy day. So I'll sun's down, my wife's in bed watching something or asleep, and I'll sit on the couch now with the Christmas tree out, a nice ambiance like we talked about last episode, and I'll prep all 4 of those listings in there, have them ready for the next day when I want to make them live or get the pictures back. Right. And so, I mean, that's not like super focused work, but if I really sit down and focus, I can get those listings up so fast now. Like
I always enjoyed that kind of work just because of the variety when I did it.
Well, I think the thing I like about it is it's a lot of just plugging info in, so it can be mindless. Some of it you want to make sure it's all right, obviously. And then the agent remarks are a whole nother thing, but
you got to get creative with that.
Tell you what, I use Flex MLS now, and if you're an agent listening here in Louisville or another place that uses Flex, and I'm sure a lot of people probably know this. I know a lot of people in the office don't, though. I was talking about it the other day. I'll add in, if I'm looking for an Airbnb for a client and they want it to already be an Airbnb, I will go add public remarks as a field, and I'll just type in Airbnb. And then it'll pull every active listing in Louisville up that has Airbnb and the public remarks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's impossible to find them if you don't do that.
There's no checkbox.
Yeah. So I've been doing that.
No, I
probably shouldn't have said that, but
you're giving away your secrets, but that's okay. Transparency never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
At least I'm of that opinion. No, I agree, man. Quiet, focused work is very important. Mine's always been in the morning. Especially since, and this is something, I'm not a night owl, and maybe it's age, maybe it's being as active as I am, just, and in the gym every day and a lot of physicality and coaching or playing golf or whatever. I'm beat. 10 o'clock. I'm good for nothing.
I'm not a night owl either.
I mean, I can summon it if I need to, but it has to be something really important.
I'm definitely a morning person, and now don't really go out anymore, but sometimes if I'm out with my friends or something, I'm like, how are you all doing it? It's 12 o'clock.
Let's go home.
I am exhausted.
Done. I just yawned thinking about it.
They're just freaking going.
I just yawned thinking about it. Some people get wired for partying, man. That's not me though.
Or just, I really think some people get more energy at night.
Well, my wife is not a morning person. She is definitely a night person. She can sit up and read all night. She can do work at midnight. And she is much more focused at midnight than she would be at 6 a.m. Like, to me, what I want to do, I like to compartmentalize. If this is a tomorrow thing, I don't want to do it tonight. I want to do it tomorrow. If that means I got to get up an hour earlier tomorrow to do it tomorrow because it's a tomorrow thing, then I'll get up an hour earlier and I'll do it.
For sure.
And then
I do that all the time.
Because I like to turn myself off at the end of the day. When I've finished today's responsibilities, I don't want to be working on tomorrow's stuff. I want to do tomorrow's stuff tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I realize that I don't have that luxury in everything.
I kind of enjoy sometimes having to get up an hour earlier, knowing I have work to do.
Were you a test crammer in college?
Dude, so bad.
I was too. I
would wake up the morning of a test at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And if the test is at 8, I would study for 3 hours before.
Yeah.
That way also, I just studied right before too.
It's fresh. I didn't have to study last night and then sleep and forget it all.
Yeah.
Dude, that's totally, you and I are alike in that, because I would be at the Bellarmine Library the moment it opened, in the morning.
Yep.
And, I mean, I guess it's open 24 hours. Certain parts of it were open 24 hours, but
only during final exams.
Is that what it is?
For a week or two, the week of final exams, or maybe the week before final exams. At least when I was there.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I was there really early in the morning, cramming for a test, and that's bad. That doesn't spell out mastery of the subject matter. But let's just be real. I didn't need to master most.
I
of that.
guarantee you, my grades were higher doing it than if I would have
studied the night before
when I was supposed to.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that was the whole thing about college for me, was an exercise in completion.
Yeah.
How do we, and even efficiency. I tell this story a lot about college, and I know I'm bunny trailing a little bit. I worked harder at registration than anything.
Yeah.
Like I made sure, like I
That was
researched.
a really good thing about being an athlete at Bellarmine too.
Yeah.
You got to do your classes first.
You get to do your classes first. You get to you have upperclassmen that you can consult about who should I take for philosophy, who should I take for, because it's a a liberal arts university. Who do I take for psych? Who do I take for theology? Like, because that can make or break you.
Oh, for
like
sure.
some of those teachers were so hard. And I'm like, guys, I'm at a liberal arts university taking an intro to theology. Like I'm not getting a master's in this. I just need an A.
I only got a C once in college, and I got absolutely screwed. And it was an elective. I took like understanding planet Earth. It was like the only thing. I was like, oh, this shouldn't be too hard. It was so hard. It was all definitions and like flashcards just back and forth. And like I don't enjoy that.
I made a C and I made two. I think I made two C's. Both were like C plus, barely C's. I made one in web programming. Like it was like intro to internet programming and web design, and that was terrible. And then I made one, which is crazy because I was really good at math, and I think I was just like not into this at all, and I did not like my professor. But I made a C plus in stats.
I did take that too.
Because I just hated it. But like, I mean,
I had to take that.
I took calculus in high school, and I made a C in stats at Bellarmine. It was just,
yeah, but was it?
I was not happy with myself about that one.
Was it? I'm trying to think of what the class was called because I know I took the same class, and there was another one I took, and it was like called like liberal arts stats or something.
I don't remember. That's been a long time ago, Ryan. It's much more recent for you, buddy.
That's true.
It was a long time for me.
Yeah, that is.
But I mean, to me, again, college was an exercise in completion.
Yeah, I wonder if the listeners are going to be able to hear the commotion going on.
Yeah, it's Grilled Cheese Fest today. So as we talked about before, so there's kind of a bit of a party going on outside the office. But that's okay.
Yeah.
What else you got, Ryan?
Let's see here. Let's jump into some leadership stuff I had. Another good lead in, though. You talked about beginning of the team to now. Mm-hmm. How's leadership or your perception of leadership changed from maybe when you were just starting out as an agent to being a team leader to now?
So that's a great way to put it. I will say this. First off, it is absolutely kind of an unfortunate part of our industry that success in real estate sales typically leads you to a leadership role and or like a business operations kind of role, and the skills that make you good at one certainly do not translate to the other two. So when you become a leader of real estate agents, there's a lot of problem solving involved, which it is required to be a good agent, but having patience to be able to translate your way of doing things and mix it and meld it with someone else's natural inclinations is really challenging. And it's really easy to get frustrated. It's really easy to lose patience. It's really easy not to meet other people where they are. That's the leadership part. The business building part and business management part is a whole nother thing. I think that requires leadership skills as well. But so how's it changed for me? Number one, I will say early on, I felt like I could make anyone successful. And what it took me some time to realize that not only is that unfair to them, it's unfair to me. Because not everyone deserves
or decides.
What's that?
Not everyone decides they want to be successful. Or
this is true. Well, they say it. They always say the right thing because you're not having the conversation. Like nobody sits down in front of you and says, "Jay, I'm going to be a complete failure." Like they're not in front of me. They're in front of me if they at least want to feign the interest in doing the right thing. So like I had to learn to read between the lines. Okay, I had to learn to evaluate people on whether or not they were willing or they were worthy of my investment. Not Jay, you can make anybody successful. carbon copy, do this XYZ, and you're going to get this result. So leadership early on was probably me trying too hard to make people be me, because I knew that would work, and realizing finally that that's not what is required to be successful, and B, it's not a reasonable expectation for anyone, really, because nobody's going to do it exactly the way you do it. And there are similarities, but being able to so again, it's not what you do once you're in it so much as figuring out if the person has it in them to be successful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
While you're in the trenches, the leadership looks like understanding people's motivations, understanding what makes them tick, understanding what gets them started, what keeps them going, being able to effectively communicate like these universal truths of problem solving to someone that is not looking at the situation the same way you are. Living a good example, right? So like, I honestly believe that probably the keeping your cool and staying level-headed is probably it's the most important skill to problem solving, because when you become emotional and lose your cool, your rational thought goes out the window and you're not going to be able to solve problems. So like being able to de-escalate when somebody brings me a situation and they're inserting all this emotion into it, and I'm just like, hey, chill. Like, let's bring it down a notch. Being able to do that without offending them is a huge skill in leadership. So that's more what I do now. I meet people where they are. I don't try to turn them into me. Now there's some that do it a lot like I do, that approach things a lot like I do. But that's cool. If that works for them, that's great. Glad I can be an example. I want people more or less to look at me, and what I mean by living the example is like, look at me and say, I don't have to do it exactly the way he does, but I want to take this, and this, and I want to fold it into who I am, and I want to get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you live the example.
Cool. Next question. So what qualities do you think will define great leaders of real estate brokerages over the next, say, 10, 15 years?
I think the quality. Okay, so
Can I tell you? I guess I can tell you my thoughts.
yeah, tell me. I'd like to. I mean, I have some thoughts.
So I know, like, the industry the last few years, it's been very popular, like cloud brokerages and like not a physical office. I actually think it's the complete opposite. I think it's those brokers and leaders at real estate brokerages that can draw people into the office, want to be in the office. Like, to me, those are going to be the most successful leaders of real estate brokerages over the next decade or so.
I think. Do you know what I mean when I say when I use the term arbitrage, like a business that is an arbitrage? Mm-hmm. For the listeners that don't understand what I mean by that, insurance is an arbitrage. Okay, so insurance companies literally bet, based on math. A lot of research and math and actuarial science. They bet that they're going to take in more premium than they're going to pay out in claims. That is literally the entire business in one sentence. Real estate brokerages are moving towards arbitrage, in my opinion. Cloud brokerage allows you to operate a larger scale operation with less investment, monetary or personal, into your individual revenue streams, which are your agents. You are cutting costs to them. You're planning, it's nothing different than Coca-Cola making 1 cent per serving of Coca-Cola, or less, probably a lot less actually, but fractions of a cent per serving of Coca-Cola, because their brand is so big that they can afford to operate and profit at that small a margin. This is what cloud brokerage is after: smaller margin, wider, bigger tent, if you will, and they have more agents, but those agents are going to be more transient. They're going to go here and they're going to say, well, that's not good. I'm going to go here. Okay, well, this is better. I just think it's a race to the bottom. I think, I'm not trying to be the cheapest. I never have been. Never wanted to be the cheapest. I wanted to be the best.
Yeah.
And well, to your point, they're sitting out there right now, hooting and hollering, and
They might not be working.
they may not be working this second.
Yeah.
But if they stay here, on average, an extra year because of this type of environment, then I've succeeded
Yeah.
in drawing people into the office. Does that mean they're going to be here working every single second of every? No. But they generally, if you polled the agents of this office and said, is what happens at the office a positive or negative influence on your decision to be affiliated with RE/MAX Premier Properties? I guarantee you 100% of them would say positive.
Yep.
I don't know a single person that thinks it's negative.
No.
Maybe people secretly harbor resentment, and I don't know. We got 110 agents, so maybe.
And let me say too, like, I don't have anything against cloud brokerages.
I don't
think
either.
it works for a lot of people. I just know it wouldn't work for me, and I don't think it's best for newer agents.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe if you've been in it a while and you just want to go solo, and
I think it exacerbates the industry's biggest problems, which is lack of supervision, lack of credibility and qualification, right? Poor representation to the client.
yeah. I mean, I've said this. It still blows my mind that you can get your real estate license and be an independent agent
In 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks. Like, yeah, brokerages don't operate the way they used to.
No.
You're an independent agent. You might be able to get a hold of your broker, but maybe not for a question. Like, you should have to, in my opinion, be on a team or work a deal with another agent a certain amount of times before you can actually be an independent agent.
I mean, and there's a pretty strong lobby that prevents it from being that way. And I get it. Okay. But like, I'm on record saying that I believe that we should make it more difficult to become licensed.
or more expensive.
Or more expensive. I'm fine with either. But yeah, those are the real problems.
Maybe just more expensive to keep it.
Maybe. That's fine by me.
Yeah.
That's fine by me too. I mean, I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm sure I wouldn't have agreed when I was a new agent.
Sure.
So yeah, there's barriers to entry at that point, and that's unfortunate. But I hear all the time of agents changing and moving here that they're shocked at how available I am.
Yeah.
Their prior brokers weren't near as busy or as successful as I am, but they can get a hold of me easier, and it shocks them to their core that they send me a document to sign and I sign it in 5 minutes, or they call my phone and I answer, or they text me and I respond. And under no circumstance do I, if I get back to you later than same day, it comes with an apology.
Well, and the great thing too here is if you're not available,
Somebody else is. Somebody else is.
Yeah, and they're more than willing to help.
I mean, I had Ryan and I were actually playing golf the other day, and I had a text message, as you can imagine, out on the golf course, not really paying attention to my phone. I had a lot but I had time, and drive home in the next few hours, I knocked out 95% of. I happened to miss a text from one of our agents that doesn't reach out often. It was buried under a bunch of others. I found it the next day. I texted the gentleman back and said, "Hey man, I'm not sure how I missed this. Sorry." He responded and said, "Oh, I talked to so-and-so. I got it handled. No big deal. Yeah. That's why I didn't bother you." And I've been able to, whether that's, just having really gracious people around me or I've done something to earn this sort of, leniency. If that happens, none of our agents are upset with me. But they simultaneously tell me their prior brokers, if they were with another one, didn't care as much or didn't respond as much or wasn't as available.
Yeah.
And they find it shocking with all I do that I am as available as I am. It's kind of crazy to me, to be honest, because I don't know any other way to be.
And I mean, it's only because you made that switch 5 years ago too, though.
It's true. It's also true because if I was going on listing appointments, twice a day, 5 days a week, which, I wouldn't be as available.
No, not at all. All right. Last thing, Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, fight tonight.
Yep.
I already gave you my prediction in the video, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, I got Tyson. I think it is skill and experience over youth. I think technically speaking, I've heard some really good arguments for why Jake is not ready for this fight. Technically speaking,
Yeah.
Specifically, and I don't know anything about fighting, but I'm watching interviews and hearing people talk that do know boxing, and they say he's lazy in getting his left hand back. He jabs with the left. He's a right-handed fighter, so he jabs with the left. He doesn't get the left hand back to protect himself. Tyson is a knockout counterpuncher. He slips and throws the overhand right. This same interview I was watching showed 4 or 5 of his most vicious knockouts are slipping a jab and an overhand right. I don't think Paul is ready. Unless it's fixed. I think Mike is going to rearrange the face.
So I think if there's going to be a winner, it's going to be Jake Paul, whether it's fixed or not. And then what I really think is going to happen is we're going to get a draw, and they're setting up fight 2.
I can see that. They're always setting up fight number 2. The only thing that
But Mike Tyson is pretty old.
he's
already,
58, so I don't know that they're setting up a rematch for a 58-year-old. I think Jake legitimately wants to win. I don't know that it is fixed. I think he's already making $40 million to Tyson's 20. He owns the promotional company that's putting the fight on. He's a pretty solid entrepreneur. You love him or hate him. He prints money.
Well, he owns better too.
Yeah. So anyway, I think he's got a lot to gain, and I think a win really propels him into more opportunities. So I think he really wants to win. I just don't think he can. And if he gets beat, as long as it's not ugly, there's still an argument for more fights.
Yeah, but I think if he gets beat, it's a knockout, which is pretty ugly.
Well,
as long as it's not
as long as it's not an ugly knockout, or he can't finish, or he pulls a no mas.
How many rounds is it?
I don't know.
It's 2-minute rounds.
8 2-minute rounds, maybe.
Okay.
I know the rounds are shorter.
Yeah.
So, but it is actually a sanctioned event. So I don't know which athletic commission sanctioned it, but
it's probably amazing how slow that 2 minutes goes by for those guys.
Dude, to be a fighter, I mean, 30 seconds feels like I think an eternity when you're at that kind of. They say boxing is a kind of in shape that no other.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe MMA, but and maybe even more so MMA because you're using the entire body and you're on the ground or standing. I don't know, but they say fighting requires a level of being in shape that no other sport does.
So talking about boxing made me think of something I'm going to make my son do when he's old enough to do it. But and boxing made me think of this because, when I think of boxing, I think of jumping rope, just all the Rocky movies and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They say, if you want to be able to jump high, at an early age, just do 500 jump ropes a day.
So I had Preston doing that for a while. I saw the same thing that you saw, and he was doing I even posted a video. It was last basketball season, and it fizzled. But he was so bad on the first day, and I went back and took a video of him 2 weeks later after having done it. I think it was 1,000. I think he was doing 1,000 a day. And some days he would do more.
I think my calves would fall off if I did that.
But he in 2 weeks, Ryan,
could he do the little Chris thing?
He wasn't doing crisscross, but consistent and fast and not tired and just getting after it in just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane how fast he got good at it. And had he kept going, I think he would have added tricks and.
He's young enough; he can start again.
Oh, I know he can. It's just it's
you get home and throw the jump rope at him.
I should. It's hanging in the garage, the same place he hung it the last time he did it. It was probably a year ago. But I mean, that's the thing. 12-year-olds, man, you don't see 12-year-olds that are really dialed in like that. No. It takes some, and so I haven't really gotten on him. It takes some testosterone and a little bit of maturity before you can get into that kind of work ethic.
No doubt.
I mean, the kid plays every sport. I mean, I don't want for anything for him right now. He gives enough. So, all right, folks. I think that's all the time we got, right?
Yeah, that's it.
All the time for this week. Appreciate it. Got a little bit of heavy leadership talk today. Some historical reference on the old JT Pitts and Associates. So not your average episode, but we do appreciate you joining in. As always, we'll be back next week. Please catch us anywhere you podcast, specifically Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Like, share, review, whatever you can do. We appreciate how you support the show in any way possible. Please catch us on all the socials as well, at jpittsrealtor, at ryanharris.re. For the Jay Pitts Show, I'm your host, Jay Pitts. We will see you next week.
Peace.